The market was alive with noise. Metal stalls stood side by side, their owners shouting prices, selling strange food, weapons, and creatures. Smoke filled the air, and the smell of oil, blood, and sweat mixed together. It was a place where everything had a price, even life. At the far end of the market, in a corner where the shadows stayed thick, she was kept. A young alien girl, chained to a post, her skin covered with dirt and scars. Her clothes were nothing more than torn rags. Her hair hung like ropes, heavy with dust. People walked by, glanced at her, and quickly turned their faces away. "She is too dirty to touch," one merchant whispered. "Broken," another spat. "Not worth even a single coin." The girl heard it all, but she no longer reacted. She had heard those words so many times that they no longer cut her. Her eyes stayed low, never meeting anyone's gaze. She waited. That was her life, waiting for the next order, the next insult, the next hand pulling her by the chain. But that day, something different happened. A man entered the market. Not an alien, not one of the common traders. He was human. Humans were rare here. Few walked these streets, and when they did, people stared. This man did not care for the stares. He moved slowly, his steps calm, his eyes scanning every corner. His clothes were simple, a dark jacket and boots covered with dust from travel. He carried no weapon in his hands, but there was something in the way he moved that made others step aside. The girl did not look up. She expected him to pass like the rest, but then, his footsteps stopped in front of her. For a moment, silence pressed against her ears. She felt his shadow fall over her, and she tensed. Slowly, against her own will, her eyes lifted. He was looking directly at her, not with disgust, not with pity, just looking. The crowd began to murmur. Why is he stopping? Does he not see how filthy she is? She will break in a day, worthless. The man did not answer them. He stepped closer. The girl pulled back, chains clinking. Her heart raced. Nobody came this close before. Nobody wanted to. He crouched down so his eyes were level with hers. His voice was calm, low, but strong. "What is your name?" he asked. The question shocked her. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. A name. Slaves had no names. She shook her head quickly, whispering in a voice that was barely a breath. "No name. Slave only." His eyes softened, just for a second. Then he stood, turned to the merchant, and spoke clearly. "I'll take her." The marketplace froze. Every ear caught the words. Every pair of eyes widened. The merchant laughed, thinking it was a joke. "Her? She is filth. Even rats avoid her. Choose another." But the human did not laugh. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. "I said, I'll take her." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers turned sharp. "Is he mad? He will regret it. She will bring him nothing but trouble." The girl felt her chest tighten. Her mind swirled with confusion. Why? Why would anyone choose her? This had to be a trick, another cruel game. The merchant's face twisted, but greed won over doubt. "Fine, take her, but don't return her when she dies." The human pulled out a small chip, placed it on the merchant's table, and the trade was sealed. The chains were unlocked. The girl's wrists, raw and scarred, were suddenly free. She could hardly believe it. She looked at her hands, at the metal falling away. It felt unreal. "Stand," the human said gently. Her legs trembled as she obeyed. Every step was heavy. Her body screamed with weakness, but his eyes stayed on her, steady, unshaken. As they began to walk through the market together, the voices grew louder behind them. "She will slow him down. He will. Throw her away in a week. Too dirty. Too broken." But the human did not turn back. The girl's heart pounded in her chest. Fear battled with something else, something she had not felt in years, a small spark deep inside. Hope. Still, one thought refused to leave her mind. Why? Why had he chosen her when the whole world had called her worthless? The answer, she knew, would change everything. The ship door closed with a heavy hiss. The noise of the marketplace was gone, replaced by silence. For the first time in years, she was not surrounded by mocking voices or cruel laughter. But the silence was worse. She stood inside the human's ship, her chains gone but her body still tense, like an animal ready to be beaten. Her eyes stayed on the floor. She expected commands. She expected pain. The human walked ahead, calm and steady, as if this moment was nothing unusual. But for her, every second felt unreal. Finally he spoke. "Follow me." Her legs obeyed before her mind could resist. She followed him down a narrow hall of steel walls and dim lights. The air smelled clean, too clean. Her nose was used to dust and rot. They stopped at a small room. Inside, she saw something strange. A wide tub filled with steaming water. Bottles lined the wall, soft cloth folded neatly beside them. Her heart skipped. She knew what this was. A bath. The human turned to her. His eyes were not harsh, not demanding, only steady. "You need this," he said. She shook her head quickly, fear rising in her chest. "No. No touch. Dirty. Not safe." Her voice cracked. But he didn't move closer. He didn't reach for her like others had. He simply nodded. "You will be safe here. I will not harm you." His words were strange, almost impossible to believe. Safe. She had forgotten what that meant. Still, he stepped aside, waiting. She looked at the water, steam curling into the air. It smelled faintly of herbs and soap. A memory stirred deep inside her. Long ago, before chains, before dirt, there had been warmth like this. Her hands trembled as she touched the edge of the tub. The water shimmered, reflecting her face, broken and scarred. She flinched. The human's voice came again, low and calm. "The dirt is not who you are." Something inside her cracked. She climbed into the water, her body stiff, unsure if it was allowed. The warmth wrapped around her skin. It stung at first, burning against cuts and sores, but then it sank deeper, softer. For years she had lived in filth, and now the dirt began to lift away. Her hands shook as she scrubbed at her arms. Layers of grime peeled off, turning the water dark. Tears blurred her vision, though she didn't know why. The human stepped closer, but not too close. He picked up a cloth, dipped it in water, and held it out. She froze. Her breath caught. Her instincts screamed danger, but his hand didn't force her. He just waited. Finally, she reached out, her fingers brushing his. She took the cloth. Their eyes met for a moment, hers full of fear, his full of quiet strength. She pressed the cloth to her skin, wiping again and again. Dirt vanished, revealing pale scars, the story of every lash, every chain. She hated those scars. They marked her as ruined. But when she dared to glance at him, he was watching, not with disgust, but with something else. Respect. "You survived," he said softly, almost to himself. The words struck her harder than any whip. Survived. Not broken. Survived. She lowered the cloth, staring at him. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do this?" He didn't answer right away. He crouched down so his voice was close but gentle. "Because no one deserves chains. Not you. Not anyone." Her chest tightened, tears spilling before she could stop them. She pressed her face into her hands, water mixing with tears, shaking with sobs that had been locked away for years. The human didn't move to comfort her, didn't touch without asking. He just stayed near, letting her cry. When her sobs faded, she wiped her face, ashamed. "I am nothing," she whispered. "Slave only." He shook his head firmly. "Not anymore." The words echoed in her ears. "Not anymore." She looked down at the water. The dirt was gone, the surface dark with it. Beneath, her skin was raw but clean. For the first time in years, she felt light. When she climbed out, he handed her a towel. Clean clothes waited on a chair, simple, soft fabric, not rags. She held them like treasures, afraid they would vanish. Her voice trembled as she asked, "Why give me this?" He looked at her, steady and unreadable. "Because you are free now, and freedom begins here." She dressed slowly, the cloth strange against her skin. She felt like someone else, someone new, though she could not yet believe it. As she stood before him, cleaner than she had been in years, a question burned in her heart. What did he want from her? Her fear whispered, "It is a trick. He will use you like all the others." But another voice, quiet and fragile, whispered something else. Maybe it is real." Before she could speak, the ship's lights flickered. A loud alarm began to wail, sharp and urgent. The human's face hardened. He turned toward the door. "Stay here," he ordered. Her heart jumped. Danger. Already? She clutched the edge of her new clothes, fear rising again. The bath had washed away dirt, but the past still clung to her heart. The human stepped into the hall, ready for whatever waited. She stood frozen, one thought pounding in her mind. What had she been freed into? Safety or a greater storm? The alarm faded at last. The ship's hum returned to normal, steady and calm. She sat on the edge of the bed, her hands clutching the soft fabric of her new clothes, waiting for him to return. Every second felt heavy. She did not know if he would come back, or if the alarm meant enemies were already on their way. In her old life, alarms always meant danger. They meant running, hiding, punishment. But now, she was not sure. The door opened. The human stepped inside, his jacket marked, With dust, his face calm but alert, he scanned the room quickly, then looked at her. Relief touched his eyes for a moment when he saw her still there. "You are safe," he said simply. The words made her chest ache. Safe. That word again. She wanted to believe it, but the chains still echoed in her memory. He walked to the small table, poured water into a cup, and handed it to her. She hesitated, staring at his hand, waiting for the hidden cruelty, but none came. She took the cup slowly, her fingers brushing his for only a second. "Drink," he said. She obeyed. The water was cool, clean. It slid down her throat, strange and sharp because her body was not used to something so pure. She coughed once, then drank again, greedily this time. When the cup was empty, she looked at him, unsure. What did he want from her? The human sat across from her, his eyes steady. "Tell me," he said, "what should I call you?" Her heart stopped. She shook her head quickly. "No name, slave only." He frowned, not in anger but in disbelief. "No name?" She lowered her gaze, ashamed. "Names are for people, not for me." For a long moment he said nothing. The silence pressed around her, heavy and strange. Then his voice came quiet but firm. "Everyone deserves a name. You are not a thing." Her hands trembled. She wanted to argue, to insist he was wrong, but deep inside, a hidden part of her longed for what he offered. A name, something that meant she was more than chains, more than dirt. Still, fear won. "If I take name," she whispered, "they will take it away. They always take." The human leaned forward, his voice steady as stone. "No one will take it from you again." She searched his face, trying to see if this was another lie, another trick. But his eyes held no cruelty, no mockery, only truth. He leaned back, thinking. Then he spoke. "I will give you a name." Her breath caught, and she felt the room tilt around her. To be given a name was to be seen was dangerous. "What name?" she asked, her voice barely more than a breath. He studied her, as if searching for the answer in the scars she carried, in the eyes that still feared the world. Finally he said, "Lyra." The sound was simple, soft, yet strong. "Lyra," he repeated. "It means light." Her lips parted. The word felt strange, sharp, and beautiful. Light. She almost laughed at the cruel joke of it. She was not light. She was shadow, filth, broken. "I am not light," she whispered. He shook his head. "You survived darkness. That makes you light." Her eyes burned. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever given her something so gentle, so dangerous. She pressed her hand to her chest, whispering the word again. "Lyra." For the first time, she felt something stir deep inside her. Not hope, not yet, but something close. The human stood. "From now on, you are Lyra. Remember it." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. She did not wipe them away. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then a thought struck her, sharp and sudden. If she now had a name, what was his? What do I call you?" she asked. He looked at her, surprised, then smiled faintly, as if the question was unexpected. "My name is Kael." Kael. The sound carried weight. It felt steady, like stone under her feet. She whispered at once, softly, afraid it might vanish. "Kael." He nodded. "Yes." Her chest tightened again, but not with fear this time, with something else, something she could not yet name. The quiet moment did not last. Outside, the ship's engines roared louder, pushing them into the stars. She felt the vibration under her feet, the shift of space around them. Lyra. She had a name now. She clung to it, afraid it might slip away like everything else. But even as the warmth of the word filled her, doubt whispered in the back of her mind. Would Kael keep his promise? Would he truly protect her name, her freedom? Or would the universe, cruel as a ways, tear it from her hands? As the stars streaked across the window, she closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she dared to dream, just a little. But in the shadows of her heart, fear still waited, because names could be taken, and she knew the galaxy would not let her keep hers without a fight. The ship drifted quietly through the stars. The hum of the engines was steady, like a heartbeat. For Lyra, it was strange, almost frightening, to be in such silence. No chains, no shouts, no cruel orders. Only space, endless and cold outside, but inside, safety. She sat on the floor, knees pulled tight to her chest. Even with clean clothes and a name, the habit remained. Floors were for her, beds were for others. Kael stepped into the room. His eyes moved to her instantly. "Why are you on the floor?" She looked away quickly. This is where I belong. He frowned. No, not anymore. She shook her head. Slaves sleep here. Not there. She pointed at the wide bed behind him, soft and neat, its surface too perfect for someone like her. Kale's voice was calm but firm. You are not a slave. The bed is yours. Her chest tightened. The words were kind, but they felt dangerous. She wanted to believe him, yet her body would not obey. To climb into that bed was to break every rule burned into her skin. I can't, she whispered. He crouched so his eyes were level with hers. Listen to me. You are free. You have a name, and you will not sleep on the floor again, not while I breathe. The certainty in his voice shook her. He wasn't asking, he was promising. Slowly, as if her body fought against itself, she rose to her feet. Her legs trembled. Step by step, she moved toward the bed. Each step felt heavier than the last. She touched the edge of the blanket with her fingers. It was soft, almost unreal. She hesitated. Kale's voice came again, low and steady. It is safe. Trust me. She turned her head, meeting his gaze. There was no mockery, no hidden trap in his eyes, only truth. Her chest rose and fell fast. Then, with a deep breath, she sat down. The mattress sank under her weight. It felt like air holding her, like clouds she had never seen. Her hands clutched the blanket tightly, afraid it would vanish. It is soft, she whispered. Kale smiled faintly. That's what beds are for. She looked at him confused. You will not chain me here? No, he said firmly. Never. The word echoed inside her, louder than the hum of the engines. Never. She lay back slowly, her body stiff, her eyes wide as if waiting for punishment. But none came. The bed held her gently, wrapping her in warmth she had forgotten existed. Her throat tightened, tears threatening again. I do not deserve this. Kyle shook his head. You deserve more than this, but this is where we start. For a moment, silence filled the room. She lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to believe it was real. Her eyes began to close. For the first time in years, sleep felt possible. Safe. But then, the ship shuddered. A deep, heavy thud echoed through the walls. Lights flickered. Lyra sat up quickly, fear rushing back into her veins. What is that? She gasped. Kale's expression hardened. He moved to the door, his hand on the panel. Trouble. Her breath quickened. Trouble always meant pain, always meant loss. She gripped the blanket tightly, her body trembling. Kale turned back to her. His voice was steady but sharp with warning. Stay here. No matter what you hear, do not leave this room. Her heart pounded. She wanted to obey, but fear made her speak. Are they coming for me? He paused, his eyes locking on hers. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then he said, maybe, but they'll have to go through me first. Before she could reply, the alarm blared again, louder this time, red lights flashing along the walls. The calm hum of the ship turned into the growl of weapons activating. Kyle stepped into the hall, too, his door sliding shut behind him. Lyra sat frozen on the bed, every muscle tight. She pressed her hands to her chest, whispering to herself, Lyra, my name is Lyra. She clung to it as if the word itself could protect her. Outside, she heard the echo of boots, the hiss of doors opening, the low growl of voices not human. Her new life had barely begun, and already the galaxy was trying to rip it away. She pulled the blanket around herself, rocking slightly, fighting the urge to crawl back to the floor. The bed was safety. The bed was freedom. Kale had said so, but safety was fragile, and freedom was never free. As the noise outside grew louder, her heart screamed the question she dared not ask aloud. Would Kale return? Or would she be dragged away once more, her name stolen before it had time to truly belong to her? The ship was quiet again, but it was not the same quiet as before. The alarms had stopped, the flashing lights gone, yet the air still carried tension. Lyra sat on the bed, her arms wrapped tight around her knees. She had not moved since Kale left. Every sound in the hall made her flinch, every silence made her wonder if he was gone forever. Then the door slid open. Kale stepped inside. His jacket was torn, one sleeve burned at the edge, but his eyes were sharp and alive. In his hand, a faint line of smoke still curled from a weapon he had carried. You are safe, he said simply, as if those 3 words were enough to cover the storm outside. Her breath shook as relief flooded her. He had come back. He always came back. But her eyes stayed on the burns in his jacket, the tiredness in his face. She whispered, You fought for me. Kale set the weapon aside. I fought for us. The word struck her. Us. Not him, not her, but both together. Why, she asked. The question burned inside her heavier each time she saw him risk himself. Why choose? Me. There were others, stronger, cleaner, worth more. He sat down across from her, his face unreadable. For a long moment he said nothing. Then his voice came low, steady, carrying a weight she had not heard before. Because you are not what they say you are more, and because... He paused as if measuring every word. Because you are important. Her eyes widened. Important? I am nothing. Kyle shook his head. You believe that because they taught you to. But I saw it the moment I looked into your eyes. You carry something they fear. She froze. His words felt unreal, impossible. Fear? They spit on me. They laugh. No one fears me. Kyle leaned closer. His voice dropped to a whisper, sharp as a blade. That is what they want you to believe. But the truth is different. Her heart raced. She tried to look away, but his eyes pulled her in, steady and fierce. What truth? She whispered. He did not answer right away. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. He pressed it, and a blue light filled the room, forming a map in the air. Stars scattered like diamonds, connected by glowing lines. Lyra gasped softly. She had never seen anything so beautiful. Kyle pointed to one cluster of stars, brighter than the rest. This is why they fear you. She shook her head quickly. I don't understand. You will, Kyle said. His voice carried both promise and warning. Not yet, but soon. She stared at the map, her chest heavy with confusion. How could she, a slave covered in scars, be tied to something so vast? Kyle closed the device. The stars vanished, leaving only the room's dim light. For now, all you need to know is this. You are not worthless. You are not broken. You are part of something greater than either of us. Her throat tightened. She wanted to believe him, but fear clung to her like a shadow. What if you are wrong? Kyle's eyes sharpened. Then I will still protect you until my last breath. The words silenced her. No one had ever spoken like that to her. Not with such certainty. Not with such fire. Her chest ached, and before she realized it, a tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it quickly, ashamed, but Kyle only watched, not mocking, not judging. He stood. You need rest. Her body trembled. Rest. A name. A bed. Freedom. These things were gifts too large to hold, too dangerous to trust. Yet she could not deny the warmth spreading through her chest when she looked at him. As she lay back on the bed, pulling the blanket close, Kale turned to the door. Kyle, she whispered. He paused. Yes? She hesitated, then spoke, her voice soft but clear. Thank you. For a moment, silence stretched, then he nodded once, firmly. You will understand why soon. The door closed behind him. Lyra stared into the dim ceiling, her thoughts racing. Important, fear, stars. Her hand pressed against her chest, where her heart still beat fast. Lyra, she whispered to herself. My name is Lyra. But in the back of her mind, doubt whispered too. If she was important, if Kale was right, then the galaxy would not leave her alone. And maybe the chains she thought were broken were only just beginning to tighten in a new way. Outside, the ship cut through the endless dark. Somewhere ahead, among those stars, answers waited. But so did enemies. And Lyra knew her story was only beginning. The ship cut through the black sea of stars. Engines hummed like a low song, steady and constant. But the calm outside did not match the storm inside Lyra's heart. She lay awake on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Sleep would not come. Every time she closed her eyes, the words returned. Important. They fear you. It made no sense. She was nothing. A slave, a shadow, forgotten by all. How could fear grow from someone like her? The door opened with a soft hiss. Kale entered, carrying a tray. The scent of warm food filled the air, her stomach twisted with hunger. But she did not move. He placed the tray on the table. Eat. Her eyes flicked to him, suspicious. In her old life, food had always been a trick, a weapon, another way to break her. For me? Yes, Kale said simply. For you. Still, she hesitated. He sighed, picked up a piece of bread, and took a bite himself. See? Safe. Her lips parted slightly. Slowly she reached out, her hand trembling, and took a piece. The taste was plain, but to her it was more precious than gold. She ate quickly, afraid it might vanish. Kyle watched quietly, not rushing her, not mocking her hunger. When she finished, he leaned back against the wall. "There is something you need to know," he said. Her heart skipped. "About me?" He nodded. "Yes. About why they kept you. Why they broke you. Why they feared you." Her hands clenched in her lap. She wasn't sure she wanted to hear, but the question had already lived in her heart too long. She nodded once. Kyle pulled the small device from his jacket again. The blue map of stars returned, glowing softly in the dark room. He pointed to a cluster far from the others. "This place. Do you remember it?" Her breath caught. The light stirred something inside her, something buried deep. She shook her head quickly. "No, I don't know." But her voice trembled. She did know. Somewhere in the shadows of her mind, a memory flickered. Fire, screams, hands pulling her away, chains closing. Kael's eyes narrowed. He noticed the change in her. "You were there," he said quietly. Lyra pressed her hands to her head. Pain lanced through her skull, sharp and sudden. Images rushed back, guards shouting, a symbol burned into steel walls, a circle with 3 lines. She gasped, clutching the blanket. I saw it. I was small. They took me." Kael's voice dropped. "That place is gone now. Burned, erased, but not you. You survived." Her heart raced, her chest heaved. "Why me? Why did they not kill me?" Kael's jaw tightened. "Because you are the last." The last, the word echoed in her head. She did not understand, but she felt the truth in it. Before she could speak, the ship shuddered. Alarms blared again, red lights flashing across the walls. Kael snapped the device shut. "They found us." Fear surged through Lyra like fire. Her body wanted to curl, to hide, to vanish, but Kyle was already moving, his voice sharp and commanding. "Stay here, no matter what happens." Her throat closed. She wanted to scream, "Don't leave me," but the words stuck. She only nodded. Kale rushed into the hall, the door sliding shut behind him. Lyra clutched the blanket, her new name trembling on her lips. "Lyra, I am Lyra." The ship shook harder. She heard the sound of weapons firing, explosions rattling the walls. Shouts echoed faintly, not Kale's voice, but others, harsh, cruel, alien. Her body shook. She tried to stay still, to obey, but then the door's panel flickered, a spark, a hiss. The lock began to burn red. They were coming in. Her breath came fast. She looked around wildly. No chains, no place to hide, only the bed, the table, the small tray of food. The lock cracked, metal hissing as it melted. She stumbled back against the wall, her heart pounding. Then the door burst open. 3 figures stormed inside, tall and armored, their faces hidden behind masks. Their eyes glowed red. One pointed at her. "There she is." The others stepped forward, weapons raised. Her body froze. She couldn't run. She couldn't fight. But then, something strange happened. The room's lights flickered. A hum filled the air, low and deep, rising from the floor itself. The armored figures hesitated, looking around. Lyra's chest burned. Her skin glowed faintly, a light pulsing under her scars. She gasped, clutching herself. The glow grew brighter. The intruders stepped back, fear creeping into their movements. "It's her," one hissed. "The last one." Before she could understand, Kale's voice thundered from the hall. "Get away from her!" He crashed into the room, weapon blazing. 2 enemies fell instantly. The third fired back, sparks flying across the walls. Kale grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her behind him. "Stay down!" Her body shook, but the glow in her skin did not fade. It pulsed with her heartbeat, strange and alive. The last intruder fell with a final shot. Silence returned, broken only by the ship's alarms. Kale turned to her, his eyes wide, not with fear, but with recognition. "It's true," he whispered. "You really are the last." Lyra collapsed to her knees, shaking, light still flickering under her skin. She looked up at him, desperate, terrified. "What am I?" Kale's face was grim. "The reason they will never stop hunting you." The ship flew hard through space, engines roaring louder than before. Outside the windows, stars blurred into long streaks of light. Kale's hands moved quickly over the controls, steady but tense. Lyra sat in the co-pilot's chair, her arms wrapped tight around herself. Her skin still glowed faintly, the strange light refusing to fade. She tried to hide it under the blanket, but the soft pulses shone through the fabric. She whispered, her voice breaking, "They knew me. They said, the last one." Kale didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on the stars ahead. "Yes, and now they will not stop until they have you." Her chest tightened. "Why? Why me? Because of what you are, Kale said. His voice was sharp but not unkind. Because of what they fear you might become. Her hands shook. I don't want to be anything. I only wanted to be invisible. Kale finally turned his head, his gaze firm. Invisible is no longer possible. The words sank into her like stones. No longer possible. Her freedom was already shaking under the weight of a truth she didn't understand. The ship shuddered suddenly. Warning lights flashed across the controls. Kale cursed under his breath. Lyra grabbed the chair's edge. What is it? They found us, Kale said. Hunters, fast ones. Her stomach twisted. Through the window, she saw them. Dark ships, sharp and sleek, slipping from the shadows of space. Red lights blinked on their hulls like hungry eyes. Who are they? She whispered. Kale's jaw tightened. Slavers, mercenaries, doesn't matter what they call themselves. They all want you. Fear clawed at her chest. Her glow grew brighter, as if her body betrayed her panic. They'll take me again, she said, shaking. They'll chain me. No! Kale's voice cut through her words like a blade. Not while I live. He pulled the ship hard to the side, stars bent, space twisting around them. The hunters followed close, weapons firing. Blue beams slashed across the darkness, barely missing the hull. The ship shook violently. Lyra cried out, clutching the chair. We can't escape them! Kale's hands moved fast, calm in the storm. We don't need to escape. We just need to make them bleed. Her eyes widened. Fight them? He gave a short nod. It's the only way. The ship spun sharply, diving into a field of broken asteroids. Rocks floated in endless silence, sharp and jagged, some glowing faintly from old fire. The hunters followed. Their ships moved like predators, weaving between the stones. Kale's voice was low, steady, like a soldier long used to war. Hold on. The ship fired. Bright streaks of energy blasted into the dark, striking one hunter. The enemy ship exploded, flames blooming like a flower in space. But two more remained. They closed in fast, firing again. The ship shook so hard Lyra thought it would break apart. She gasped, her glow burning brighter. Her chest ached, heat spreading through her body. Kale, something's happening. He glanced at her quickly. His eyes widened. You feel it too, don't you? She clutched her chest, trembling. It hurts. No, he said, his voice sharp. Not pain, power. Let it come. Her mind screamed in fear, but her body was alive with light. The glow surged out of her, spilling across the cabin. The panels hummed, the ship's systems flashing brighter. The engines roared louder, stronger. Kale's lips pressed tight. You're feeding it. The ship is faster. The hunters fired again, but this time the blasts missed, as if the ship moved before they were fired. Lyra gasped. Am I doing this? Yes, Kale said. His voice was firm, but awe touched his eyes. You are. The hunters drew closer, desperate. Kale gritted his teeth. Focus, Lyra. Don't fight it. Guide it. Her chest heaved. She closed her eyes, clutching the seat. The glow spread through her veins, her heartbeat thundering like drums. She thought of chains. She thought of fire. She thought of Kale's words. Not a slave, not broken. Light. The glow burst brighter. The ship leapt forward, speed tearing through space. The hunters fell behind, their weapons lost in the distance. When Lyra opened her eyes, the stars were calm again. The hunters were gone. She slumped in the chair, exhausted, the glow fading slowly. Her chest still burned, but softer now. Kale glanced at her, his expression unreadable. Then he spoke. Now you know why they fear you. Her voice trembled. I made the ship move? Yes, faster than it should, stronger than it should. You're connected to it. She shook her head in disbelief. But how? Why me? Kale looked away, his jaw tight. Because of what you are. Because of where you came from. Her stomach dropped. Tell me. Not yet, Kale said, his voice heavy. If I tell you too soon, you'll break. Tears burned her eyes. She wanted the truth, wanted it now, but fear of it twisted inside her. She whispered, And if I don't want this power? Kale's gaze returned to her, sharp and unshaken. Then it doesn't matter. The galaxy wants it, and they will hunt you until the end of time. The words struck like knives. She pressed her hand to her chest, where the last glow faded. Her name echoed in her mind, a fragile shield against the storm. Lyra. But outside the windows, space was vast, endless, and full of hunters. And the hunt had only just begun.